Now let me tell you about a balloon that has hit the headlines. It's a Chinese balloon, and no, it's not in the news for being of poor quality. It's noteworthy because it's being called a spy balloon. At least that's what the Pentagon says. US officials are monitoring a suspected Chinese spy balloon. They say it is flying over sensitive sites in Montana for the last couple of days. Reports say President Joe Biden wanted to have it shot down, but his military said that could endanger people on the ground. There are a host of questions here. What exactly is a spy balloon? What is it doing in the US? And is this warfare technique new? Washington says the balloon is flying at an altitude well above commercial air traffic. They're confident that the balloon belongs to China. Some Montana residents took pictures that went viral on social media. They called it a quote-unquote big white circle in the sky. But why is it flying over Montana, of all places? Because this is home to one of America's 3 nuclear missile silo fields. It's at an Air Force base. The 2 other fields are in Wyoming and North Dakota. So how dangerous is the balloon? Washington has dismissed any significant threats. It says the balloon has limited capacity compared to a satellite. But Washington did not specify what it was doing to prevent information gathering. And the timing is significant. The balloon sighting comes days ahead of US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Beijing. The purpose of the visit is to find common ground with China. The news of the balloon broke when CIA Director William Burns was speaking at an event. Do you know what he was speaking about? Burns said that China was, quote-unquote, the biggest geopolitical challenge Washington was facing. Clearly, the spy balloon could not have come at a worse time. Also, it hasn't come for the first time. Balloon sightings in American skies is an old story. History is full of examples. High-altitude balloons were first used for surveillance during the American Civil War in the 1860s. Men in hot air balloons with binoculars would track activity from a vantage point. Then, during the Second World War, the Allied powers used balloons as strategic weapons. Take Operation Outward, for instance. The British launched close to 100,000 outward balloons against Germany. And these were filled with hydrogen. They carried a trailing steel wire as payload. These destroyed high-voltage power lines by inducing a short circuit. Then, in the Cold War, guess who used the balloons? The United States. It deployed the balloons to gather intel from its rival, the Soviet Union. Some balloons were shot down. Some offered usable aerial photos. That was America's Project Genetrix. In another instance, Washington fitted high-altitude balloons with microphones. This was done to detect sound waves produced by Soviet atomic bomb tests. Reports say the US still uses balloons, but only in its own territory. So what makes these balloons so handy? Well, they're cheap, they're easy to use, and they can scan more territory from a lower altitude compared to satellites. Also, China wants to use that to its advantage. It wants to give Washington a taste of its own medicine, you could say. Just as the US went public with this, another nation entered the fray. Canada has confirmed a potential second incident. It detected a similar balloon in Canadian skies and said it was monitoring it. Well, we haven't heard the last of this. Let's just say it's a sign of the ballooning US-China rivalry.